All right, welcome everybody. It is the B2B Growth Lab. We're in cahoots. It's the usual suspects. Rob and I were just having a little bit of a chat today, but officially today's topic is filtering and focusing, how to put in qualification systems. The title said lead qualification, but we keep on revisiting this theme that every single step of the customer journey is a qualification process. And so as much as the problem starts with leads, any sort of volume is worthless if your qualification process is broken. And so many teams will waste resources chasing bad fit leads in the leads part, in the conversion part, in the sales part, in the onboarding part, in the fulfillment part, because the filters, gates, scorecards just aren't built with any precision. Your qualification process should be much more than does it have a heartbeat. And today we're going to start unpacking that stuff, because this is what protects your funnel, prioritizes the opportunities that actually have lifetime value. High value is lifetime value. And keep you focused on working with the clients that are actually going to help you grow your business and really strengthen what you do versus continually undermine it. So I think the obvious theme here is don't say yes to everyone, but we want to be a little bit more productive about it. I want to talk about why qualification frameworks fail, if they have any at all, how to talk about scorecards and maybe build them with your team involved, not even in mind, but have them in the process, and how to put handoff systems in place. And, I think once you have those things, then we could talk about automation. I wouldn't lead with it at any point in this conversation. Rob, where would you like to start?
Well, I was reading the title and it says overcoming final stage Stallout. So I'm wondering if you could stitch together for the audience, like, yay, all that front top of funnel stuff and process in between. But how do we get to the focus of final stage Stallout? Let's do qualification, like we said, all the way through, check-ins with our customers.
Right.
And not let it just sit in our funnel and go 2 months with no action, right?
Okay, well, one of the first things that I honestly, I forget who I'm quoting sometimes because these ideas are so valid.
Yeah.
But every call, every communication, every touch point is a sale.
Yes.
Right? I think that's the first thing to start focusing on is that if you don't manage, handle, focus, do that first, then you're going to lose the whole goal, which is, in my mind, to maintain that relationship.
Right.
And maybe like understanding that sometimes the best way to maintain that relationship could be saying no, could be giving a highly qualified referral to somebody who the scope is a perfect fit for, or the service is a better management.
Right.
What would you, let's go into sales for a second. How would you help people shift the idea that objections are something to overcome? Let's start there, like right in the middle of the problem.
Well, like, once you know what the objection is, you're empowered to act on it and overcome it. It's an insight into likely what was missing in your buildup and your lead up to that, your pitch, right? Because if you learn continuously by overcoming objections, what you should fundamentally be learning is how to make your pitch more bulletproof, right? You're missing something. You're missing some value. You're missing some statement. You're leaving the room for some objection. Not everyone will have the courage to share the objection with you, to state it clearly, cleanly. Some of them really don't even know why they're objecting, right? It takes work for the customer to get there. But to the extent that you can help them unpack it, boy, a little bit of gratitude, right? Because that's the insight that enables you, empowers you to act, to improve, right? So let's change our mindset. Overcome? Yes, technically, if you want to put that connotation on it, you have to overcome it. But how about, yay, now I know what it is,
Okay.
and I've got an answer, right? And
Yeah.
then I reflect on that. I do my after call actions, and I say, how will I do that better next time? I'm going to adjust this. I'm going to do this differently. That's a really valuable insight, right?
Absolutely. I like the way you grimace when, you're thinking about that, like, oh, just make it happen kind of behavior.
Right. Because we all know that, like, the 100 no rule and those kinds of things, right? You got to kiss 100 frogs before you get a yes. Just be grateful when they tell you no, right? Mindset matters.
Mhm.
Resiliency matters. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Get right
think
in.
that stuff's more training for discipline, right? Like, don't quit. But then we still have residue of that hard selling culture that's out there. And what I believe about it is that it's not inappropriate if you have a really well designed and clearly defined lead qualification process. And if you don't, then you can't do that. Don't let them leave without saying yes kind of stuff, because it leads to disaster.
I walked door to door with a salesperson who was selling roof replacements due to hail damage. Right? Door to door sales. Knock,
Right.
knock, knock. Did you know, right? A storm went through your area.
Right.
I would love to inspect your roof, right? What we're doing today in your neighborhood is free inspections. Customers love free,
Yes.
to see if you've been affected. And it was a fun, wild hunt. Some people would just say, hell no, get off my property. Okay, thank you so much. We're going to be doing work in your neighborhood. If you see any debris lying around, please call us. Here's our flyer, right? We still get the flyer into their hand, right? Different outcome. But still, if you exhibit the behavior, you do the behavior, you knock 100 doors, you get 40 answers. Of the 40 answers, you get 3 inspections. Of the 3 inspections, you get 2 signatures, you get 2 closes. That's a great day.
It's like a funnel.
Yeah, it's like a funnel. What do you know?
But it's a qualification versus, I guess, what I see happening in the digital space sometimes is the homeowner comes outside because they hear a noise and there's someone on their roof.
Right?
Right. And just like, what are you doing on my roof?
Right.
Giving you a free inspection.
Right. Don't skip the qualification.
Yes, absolutely.
Some people, it's really wild. We had some people that weren't even available to be qualified. They just all right, go ahead, do whatever. I'm out, and went off on a jog. So then you're qualifying them, right? You're doing the inspection, but they're not there to close.
Right.
It's so bizarre.
Did you leave the sheet just stuffed in the mailbox?
They left their garage open. They left their front door open. No one was home. They just literally ran off through the neighborhood with 2 strangers on their roof at their house.
Yeah.
So yes, we qualified her. No, we couldn't close
your
it.
flat screen is a deposit.
It was weird. It's just a weird sale.
Oh, that's super interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. So yes, your audience engaged. Let's do that. Um, don't let them leave.
Don't let them leave during the call. That's number one.
Now on the other side of this, right? Like tactically, don't let them leave. Sounds
Right.
awful, right? I was at a car dealership and I let them look at my trade. And then I said, well, it's getting late. I'd like to leave. And they said, all right, let me go get the keys to your car. And then they came back and they said, I can't find the keys to your car. I said, now that's fascinating. It feels a lot like wrongful imprisonment. It feels a lot like I should call the police for either grand theft auto or wrongful imprisonment. One of these two things is true. You pick the felony. I'm not. I would really want my keys back. I'm leaving. Right? You're making me angry now.
Right.
And they, what do you know? They found my keys. Right? So if we're going to stop the customer from leaving, please do it ethically.
Yeah.
Right? Do not do what they did.
It reminds me of the little room they give you at the oil change places, but these ones have locks on the doors instead.
I gotta notice that somebody is in the starting soon screen for the podcast. I don't know if there's another button to click, Jacob, but people waiting on LinkedIn.
I don't see anything of that sort anywhere. It says it is streaming to LinkedIn.
All right. Maybe
It's a simple platform. There's either a green check mark or a red X. They were thinking of users like me when they built it.
Yeah. So that final stage stall out, maybe the takeaway here is don't imprison them to get the close, because you probably won't get the close that you're looking for.
Right. And you have to have a lot of clout about that, right? Like I'm thinking about how Walmart's famous for the prison-like negotiation room.
Tell me more about the prison negotiation room. What does that mean?
It means like when they negotiate with suppliers, they have a very stark cement, no motivational kitten poster on the wall kind of a place. And I think if I remember correctly, when I read it, this was a while back, it may have changed since then. There are refreshments, but it's like a vending machine. And that's how they negotiate these big, like chain-wide deals.
So you're not getting the nickel out of us.
Exactly.
In fashion.
Yeah. That's fantastic. So rule number one, don't make it prison.
Don't make it prison. Don't hospitality, right? Creature comforts. When we used to go through like commanding general audits in the military, right? It was the one day a year we had donuts in the shop, right?
Right.
Right. The one day a year we had donuts in the shop when the CG was walking through. That's it. Right? Those things matter. Even when people don't want to admit they matter, they matter.
Right.
Right. Final stage stall out. Don't make it prison. That's takeaway number one. So do not wrongfully imprison people at the car dealership. Do not lock them in a dark room with a vending machine at Walmart. Treat them with respect. Give them the opportunity to say no. Right? If some people are just going to say no and then say thank you for your time and go get the next one, right? Knock on the next door. They just saved you a bunch of time. So it's like instead of ABC, we almost want to be ABQ, right? Instead of always be closing, we always want to be qualifying, right?
And that's really well said.
Where are you at? What are you thinking?
So having kind of watched this change, like where do you think the source of it is? Because again, we can kind of all go back and remember there's been so many movies that reference that era, right? Of just like ram the sale down their throat. And clearly the dynamics have changed, both of buying, of selling, the qualifying process, like everything, how you even get a hold of people. Like, what do you think some of the major contributing factors are besides the obvious stuff, which is that before anybody makes a buying decision, they can go out and find out everything there is to know about it, right? Whatever you're selling.
Dude, is that really how people decide, though? Is that really the psychology?
I don't think it's the psychology. I think it's just how people see things, right? Like the habit became to Google everything first.
Right.
And then there's a breakdown inside of that habit, which is if you Google your opinion, you'll get all the confirmation for it, right? So product X, you can search like, does product X exist? But then you can also be like, why does product X get a 10 out of 10? Or you could search, why is it a piece of garbage? Right? And that's where the whole spiral of the thing starts. But what I'm asking about more so is how do you think it's changed, like buying and selling in general? Because it obviously must have had some sort of an effect on it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. The internet is so big, a part of that change foundationally, not just product information dimension, but I was watching program today that said 20 to 30% of online sales result in returns. And that supports the entire secondary market that you're seeing on Facebook Marketplace, eBay, and the like.
Right.
A lot of it's palletized or indeed trailerized returns that go out on the secondary market for 50 to 75% off. Right. And that's a functional business model for a lot of people. So I think
Right.
that has really changed. The where you buy things has changed. The way that you transact financially has changed. The way you research has changed. All of that's founded in the internet and the associated systems.
Right. And then you have the lockdown influence on retail, right? Where the only way to survive was like buy 5, free shipping both ways, and try them all on because unfortunately we can't service you the way we have been for the last 100 years.
Right. Right. I think my friends constantly look at me funny. Maybe that's what ages them. When I tell them that's how I buy shoes now, right, with Zappos,
Yeah.
I just order however many pairs I want to try on.
Yeah.
Ship me like a small refrigerator box, right? I mean, it's a box. And then I try them all on and I ship back what I don't want to buy and they credit the account. It's flawless. It's
Right.
convenient, right? Do I pay a bit more per pair of shoes for everything I buy from them? Sure. But that's a absolutely solid business model because what I want is not available in the store.
Right.
Not
So
a choice.
that's the perfect example. So since you become used to buying a thing in that way, do you think it started to affect how you think about buying other things like a service?
Yeah. It's shoes, it's clothes, it's harder to get there with food. All right, food as a service. Like, why does it always feel like I get the crappy whatever it is when I have someone else shop for me, right?
Right.
Like the like really bruised up apples or the worst green pepper from the produce section, right? They should have a please be fussy button when you ask for someone else to shop for you. Yeah. Yeah, and then half of all the food that we grow in this country goes in the trash anyway
Right.
throughout the supply chain. So, yeah, does it It's changed everywhere. It's changed so much as that is different, and then how you get to them. How many apps do you have to have on your phone? What's the role of loyalty and rewards relative to all these systems, right? Now we need to have folders of apps based on the different kind of shopping it is, right? It's like, these are all the food apps. These are all the shopping apps. These are where am I today? Where is that app, right?
Yes, and in the lead up before we went live today, that's where I was saying, like, I'd spoken with Mike and he'd done some research on it, because I do think that's a component of it. It's not just the freedom of information, like the fact that I can Google a product, the fact that I can Google it's great or it's crap and get confirmation on that, because that's what I asked for. But the overwhelm of it too now, because there you are, like, which of the 9 apps should I consult? Right? Which of the 11 store apps that are in my phone should I go to? Because before I could have just looked at a single pane and trying to shop in the price. And then now, as of a couple of weeks ago, or whatever you want to say, which of the AI tools should I ask for their opinion? And which ones are going to tell them I'm awesome for thinking about having a question, and which ones are going to report information?
Yeah. Welcome, Mike.
Hello, guys.
Jump right in at the deep end of the pool.
I've been in the deep end all day. Yeah, Jacob says the right point, and it's like I've gone through the .com and the .com bubble, and I'm seeing it again with the AI and the AI bubble. And I'm explaining to people, we're going to live through it. Don't worry. Because the bubbles are the billionaires trying to get their money out of whatever they invested. It's got nothing to do with us. But the beauty about some of the work around AI is how it can actually boost in the individual in what they're doing across different roles. And if they bother to look at the MIT report, it said 95% of them are terrible. Yes, but they also said which ones were good, the 5%.
Right.
And it's companies that are doing it the ground up, because if you go look at Gemini, OpenAI, they're making revenues, but they're not making any profit.
Right.
So Lovable is an example of the ones that are ground up. I'm sure we can find issues with how they create the website, but it's a pretty good first try, and they got up to 135 million in a short time they've been out there.
And I mean, we kind of talked a little bit in the past about how they're building differently, but just keeping like the stages of the customer journey that we were talking about earlier, how are they selling differently? What would you say about that? Like, in terms of the experience of becoming a customer? Obviously, I'm sure, like, freemium and then paid 1, 2, 3. We know that those containers exist, but what's different about how you actually get an experience as a customer?
Well, I'd say right now it pivots on the messaging so much that and it's due to some of the things you guys were talking about, which is that customers for any business right now is low on tolerance and high on distrust. They've heard the guarantee and it doesn't work. So stop saying you got a guarantee, because they don't believe it. Or they're having a tough time trusting it, because the analogy I heard was mosquito versus butterfly. And there's an article on Inc. magazine just in the last couple of days. It's okay to just plaster LinkedIn with a ton of messaging. But what they don't say in the article, that leads to high cost of a lead. Yes, you get a return. So you really want a message that talks about your authenticity. And I've been back and forth with Jacob on this as well.
Mhm.
How do we crack the code on the messaging that they know that it's somebody that's trustworthy and they can rely on? Because the statistics on the customer now hasn't really changed. First, in your 100 ideal customers, 5% are ready to buy now. So if you do this mosquito thing, you're going to piss off the other 95 because they're busy looking for the 5. If you do it more, and this is not my analogy, like a butterfly, oh, it's beautiful, right? You'll tend to not only eventually get to the 5%, but you won't have had pissed off the other 95. So, because why do you want to do that? Well, the statistics that are coming out for the last 3 years is the customer today is way more tech savvy.
Yeah.
They'll ask AI. So now SEO's in trouble because they're asking AI to tell them who is my top 3 vendors. You may not be the choice on that vendor list. So how do you get through to them that you're one of the ones that the AI should find and that you're the choice, or that you represent yourself as an alternative choice to the AI? Even though everything's reporting that sometimes AI makes mistakes in their research in the mix. So even AI has a trust issue. So how do you get through all of that noise? That's really why messaging is so important now.
I was just talking with my web developer this morning about doing LLM optimization for the web pages instead of traditional SEO. It's not at the expense, but it's a yes and.
Mhm.
Yeah, I would do both of them still.
You do both.
Yeah.
Right?
I had a meeting with a guy last week before, and again, you need a caveat in here. I'll use the Gary Vaynerchuk one, which is remember how any channel was before marketers came in and effed it all up. Right. And I love him for it because he knows himself as a marketer and claims responsibility for it. But so don't worry, this will be ruined or changed within the next 3 to 6 months. But he had just gotten back from an AI conference, and the guy got up on stage to debunk AI search because he searched for best in class and did 10 different verticals. Right. And then he showed what the results were, and they were not best in class. So he dug in and did the research and found that they just had a whole bunch of best in class language plastered all over the footers of the website.
That's right.
And so, AI looked and believed and returned with the bone as it was told to fetch.
Because it's literal and doesn't have judgment.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right? You can just feed it whatever lie you want it to repeat, and it accepts things as fact. It does not validate. It does not have judgment.
Mhm.
It's not sophisticated, right?
Yeah.
So yes, we are the number one provider of blankety blank. Yeah. Absolutely.
And that's going to bring some more distrust, right? Because I think obviously, if you go into AI search with that kind of trust and you assume you arrived at best in class and then you don't get it delivered, right? That's just going to build more of that resignation that we were talking about.
That's why I always look at the statistics, people that do sales and marketing effectiveness. Why is it not, delivering what you're looking for? And, Jacob knows a little bit about this. And I joke with the young ones, hey, I've been searching the web since before it was called the web. So relax. Right. So, and I'm using Bing and Google and the Brave search just to see if I'm getting some kind of commonplace searches.
Right.
Right.
And what's funny from what that comes out of, from a statistics standpoint, and when you're looking at small business owners today, with there are millions of them, so there's a good base for the research. Most of them are 67% along the way, and the range goes from 65 to 85, depending on which study you look at. 67 is kind of the halfway average mark, without talking to a vendor in their buying process. My God, we used to be at the front end. We would tell them about the new product in terms of people in the profession of selling and marketing.
Right.
So now that's completely flipped the other way around. And now throw in AI. Oh man, you just confused the hell out of it. So like Jacob said, they must be saying, the buyers that we want to attract, they must be saying, who the heck do we trust?
Mhm.
So now, even this week for me, I've been approached by 7 lead gen companies. So what I started to do was, okay, I'll take their email and I'm going to put it on the browser, and I'm going to find out if they at least have a website. Because the last one was sending me this from his iPhone, and sure enough, none of them had a website. 7 and 0.
Right.
So I can't really trust you to get me the leads if I can't even find who the heck you are.
Right.
And then I look on LinkedIn to see if it's somebody that, got my name through it, but I can't find them. So if you have that going and you're a lead gen company, by the way, you got to compete against that. So like, what's going to happen? So that to me, it pivots again on the messaging. What exactly are you sending out to first attract, second engage? I got tons of connections, but I'm not seeing the same level of engagement on platforms like LinkedIn as I used to.
Agreed.
I go on Reddit and I say, listen, buddy, you want to be an entrepreneur? Building it and they will come is not a business model. Okay. You've heard of the Dragon Den TV show? The first question they ask you is, what have you sold? So like, you do have to do some kind of sales and marketing. I haven't seen so many hands up going, oh, really? In the group? Because they don't want to, because they know it's a tough haul today.
Right.
So the ones in this grouping that figure out that will be definitely leading the wave that's coming. No question about it. So cracking the code on messaging is definitely critical.
What does, I guess, in the context of this discussion, has the messaging at the end, how has that changed from your perception, Mike? The messaging at the end when we're getting toward the close, based on all that difference, how armed the consumer is now, what do we need to do to better prepare to have that go successfully?
It has to be a cadence, a sequence that's longer than it used to be. So, and what I mean by that is, if you send your first message and you right away have a call to action, they're already got their shoulders up. So what you're attempting to do, my preferred definition of selling is equal to a teacher with 30 students, different religions, colors, and whatnot. And that teacher is trying to figure out how to tell them math is really fun. Okay. So first of all, thank you for your service. But second of all, that's exactly what sales is about. It's sales is a change agent. And people will argue, well, people aren't ready for a change. No, sure they are. They want, you just mentioned it. I want new shoes. I want a new car. I want a new house. They are ready. They just need to have the proper respect, integrity approach. So we're in a cycle that we've had divisiveness and slandering and push everything to you, and we're only concerned about greed. The cycle's going back. I want value for my money. Are you presenting me value?
Without giving up choice,
Correct.
while being inundated by it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right?
So-
Like that's the part that I keep on trying to wrap my head around.
Well, because you put it in there, but it's not the normal language, because that's the beauty about language is you have different options. You can use storytelling, which is everybody says to do it, but it's rarely used. You can use analogy. You can use contrast in the messaging instead of a standard, hook, line, and sinker as the term goes. If you use contrasting styles for each message, they don't see the call to action. And so I would submit to you, if you educate them so well on your value, they ask for the order, which is why my favorite story is Teresa. Most of my career, I inherited the teams. Some of the people on my team I didn't really want. I didn't say that to Teresa. So Teresa's a mother of 4, never been involved with any kind of selling. So I just asked her to qualify this list of, 100 people that we haven't talked to in 3 years, just to get her in the rhythm of things. But I also had her go to the programs that we sell so that she can see what she's actually talking about.
Uh-huh.
And next thing I know, in less than 90 days, she did this method that I've been talking to you guys about. And I had to take her leg and bring it down from cloud 9. So what happened, Teresa? I sold a deal with a pharma for $25,000. Her first sale ever in her life in 40 years is a 25 grand deal in 90 days. I says, okay, let's wrap it up and do it. And I called the buyer. She says, I don't know you, Mike, but I know that you had her do all those programs that you guys offer. Yeah. Well, when she came back, and if you know Teresa, she's one of those bubbly people that makes you laugh just as she's talking, because she's effervescent is what I want to say, I guess. So she's talking about it highly, about this program and the other program. And I said, what? She didn't use the word F, but she basically was saying, it's a no-brainer. I should buy this for my team. So sure enough, she asked for the order. And to me, that is what I always want to replicate, is that education and the customer asks for the order. So in one story that I've told, since everybody's letting me talk, that's always dangerous to do with a sales guy. I'm doing a contract sales with a software development company that's come up with a pretty cool way to automate, BPMN or the business process management workflows into any software you choose. So they had a way to model the COVID faster than what the healthcare does. So I'm going into their database to see who has done a demo, but not called them. And long story short, it turns out to be Newport News Shipbuilding that builds the nuclear aircraft carrier.
Right.
And I had profiled the guy and found out that the inspector general was checking them for over budget stuff. Of course, that happens on government programs. Would you like me to get them off your back? I got the call in like less than 5 minutes of that. And of course, it took some time to establish, set up the software the way they want to and whatnot. But it ended up being their biggest deal in 7 years because I took the time to nurture that at the level of the listening of that particular individual.
The communication is customized to his pain. That's what got you the response, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. And the extenuating circumstances, because he was a lean manufacturing expert. So one, I catered to that on one level. Two, he was being followed behind by Inspector General. So it's causing stress. So I did a reverse of that red button that Home Depot, Business Depot used to use, or for that matter, Trump for his Diet Coke. I would just press that red button and say, don't you want them off your back? Yes. So the added twist to all this is the company I'm talking about is a small Canadian company. They're not even on the vendor approval of DOD. And Department of Finance paid the bill. No RFPs, straight to solving the problem. So it was sole source right off the bat.
Nice.
That's why I believe in what I say, because I've replicated what I did with Teresa to make sure I can do it in any type of situation. So yeah,
So that's a little bit different, Mike, than I want to give credit to the question we got in the comments about economic drivers of a customer's business, right? What do those have to do with final stage fallout? The pain you're talking about is like an interpersonal risk nuisance, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's different than an economic pain. Like you said, they were over budget anyway. You didn't even pitch to the economic pain. But if you zoom out from that customer, what do you think, from your perspective, the delta is in fallout risk relative to the economic climate, uncertainty, funding, et cetera, et cetera? What do you see?
well, I didn't assume that the Inspector General was stressing him out. I just used it in order to demonstrate that I researched things before, I approached him, number one. Number two, he had done 2 demos and didn't call anybody, meaning as a lean expert, he didn't see what he wanted to see in the software. Yep. So one of the pivots was I had to listen to why he didn't do the demo. So I said, if I show you how it links to your leanings, does that help you move forward? Yes. Okay, so when would you like me to show it to you? And I'm hoping, he's a busy guy. It's going to be a week from now type of thing. He said, in an hour, I got some free time. So I'm going over to, the development guys and saying, okay, this is a situation. Can you set up the demo to do this? Run on over to the executive guy for the actual final product. Can you have this set up so that I can show it to him? Okay, tell me what I have to show. And thankfully, this is why you don't ignore the whole team, right?
Right.
So they're all watching in the boardroom to see if I'm going to mess up. So there's a bit of the competition that goes into that. I do the demo, and whenever I got caught, I don't fake it. Don't, because if you fake it, you just messed up all the work you just did. Right. So when he had that, I said, hang on, I'll ask one of the guys. He told me, he heard it over the voice. I showed it to him what he was talking about. And then he goes, can you ask Fred to come in? So Fred came in and did the last part of the demo. He says, okay, that's Mike, that's perfect. Why don't you set up the preliminaries? I want to show it to the rest of the team. Here's the 5 things I want you to do. Boom. So he respected Fred's talking in the back, and then finally coming, me having been able to bring him in less than an hour to this thing that he had looked at 3 months before. And then it proceeded. And it's a 6-figure in 3 months.
So what I heard there that I want to call out, Mike, that some really awesome salespeople miss, is that when the customer starts asking you about the product and asking for what they want to close themselves,
yes,
you stop selling.
Yes,
you start answering and giving them what the hell they ask for.
Yeah,
and let them close themselves, right?
But I had tons of people to help me. And the first one that you're referring to was, Mike, you have 1 and 2.
Right.
Use this more.
Right.
Because I tended to talk over at the beginning of my career.
Mhm.
Yeah, for sure. You have to do that.
That switch in their posture, if you're paying attention and not stuck in your own head, is typically very evident.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a change in posture.
To reflect back on that question, for me, like how I'm understanding the conversation you two are having is like maybe the economic driver brings them in, meaning they're a market qualified lead, but then all that assessment, adjustment, and finding fit is what makes it transition to the sales qualified lead, where again, they're getting the thing they actually want, right? And they're buying the solution instead of the bullet points.
Right.
Well, there's also some analysis that this particular employer contractor had, up to that point, I was in heaven. They had a database of 41,000 leads. Wow. But I didn't go look at the ones for the past 2 years. I just looked at the ones for the last 6 months. And I was looking for a pattern. So I just looked at the ones doing demos. So this one, the last demo he had done was 2 weeks ago. And the prior demo that I didn't necessarily catch the first time was two or 3 weeks before. In terms of marketing and sales, he just expressed interest in our product.
Right.
And we missed it.
Right.
So I wasn't a genius. All I did was basically look at the patterns and the data. And I said, criminy, I got to call this one. So, because it was an expression. I mean, you're always working for an expression of interest to go to the next level.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it was in their database. Nobody had seen it up to that point. So I always look at when the first couple of months of starting a contract, right away, go in the database, look at what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Data is incredibly valuable to allow any sales team to properly target, to let's go 80-20 that thing, right? Know when you're fishing and know when you're whale hunting, right? Come on. Yes, you got to have the data. You got to know who's important, who's not important. You got to know what's important to the people you're hunting, right? Like all of that.
Well, for those that start up, they don't have data. So what I tell them is the same story I had with a home care company. 18 years in business. So can I see your customer list? Don't have one. What? You're kidding me, right? No, we never captured it. I said, okay, but you got people coming into your store pretty often all day? He says, yeah. How many? About 20 a day. Okay, well, just incentivize the people on the floor to capture every single one of them and their email. So they had a database of 300 at the time. As soon as I saw the titles, who was coming in, which organization, I already had a segmentation. Okay, well, we'll target these guys. So it doesn't matter who it is. If they look at their data, or at least capture 4 weeks in this case, you can, and they ended up getting 26% growth during the pandemic.
And that is so consistent with foundational problem solving applied to sales, right? Yeah. If we don't have data, what do? We'll go and see with a tick sheet, right? Like it's 101 problem solving stuff. Solve your dang sales problem with basic data capture and analysis.
And I got help with that because on my profile, there's Jonathan, and he does a testimonial for me. And he starts off, Mike, process guy. But in my defense, Jonathan is like the sales guy in the old American TV show. I'm going to date myself, WKRP. He's just, hey, how are you? He's animated. He's just in your face. It's so annoying and stuff like that. So I'm doing a consulting with him. And he has a consulting practice with one of those things that brought different speakers in, like Tony Robbins and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So we're talking to one of the people that had come to these shows, and they're looking for help. And they're selling plastics to dry cleaners. So we're sitting down, and I had given a guy a profile of the industry, what he's dealing with dry cleaners, what kind of money they potentially have, all this kind of stuff. So, you like what Mike said there? It's good process, right? Okay. Well, we're going to find out if it's real. The guy leaves, and this is what Jonathan taught me. Okay, Mike, let's go. And we go in his Audi. I'm going, where are we going? Well, according to the GPS, there's like 14 dry cleaners around here. Let's go see if it's all true. Before we even called the customer, we already had $100,000 worth of orders just because Jonathan went and picked it up at each of these dry cleaners. And I said, hey, tip the hat, way to go. Go find out if the data is real too. Don't just leave it on the table. Made me laugh the whole time, all day long. Just driving around. You know, every stereotype you can think of dry cleaners we met from, you know, little old lady, Chinese, you know, another demographic, another different demographic, just trying to make it go. And here's Jonathan saying, can make it go if you buy this plastic to cover your nice work that you've done. Don't you want it to be properly presented? Yes. Boom. So, yeah. Sales definitely still has a role today. No one's replacing it with AI.
I'm having a planes, trains, and automobiles flashback at John Candy.
I love it. Yeah.
Shower rings, right?
I can't wait to see his documentary that, what's his name, put together. It's going to be great.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a good ethical way, right? Humor, interpersonal relations, right? Listening, knowing the pivot. Relax, let them close themselves if needed, challenge them a little bit when appropriate, right? Back to the challenger sale. Thank you, Chris. Right? Sandler's got a boatload of different phrasing you could use. Insight selling, allegory, storytelling, all the other stuff we mentioned, right? Practice, know it, listen, right? What did you call it? Ear to mouth ratio.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. All of that. So much good stuff, Mike. Thank you for hopping on today.
No problems. I'm honored for sure. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's not get stuck at the final stage, right, Jacob? We want to just close, right? Let's qualify continuously. Let's keep closing and meet the customer where they're at, solve their pain and their problem, grow your business.
And just perhaps, since we understand the importance of that storytelling, like, don't blindly rely or let AI take over the entire front end of telling that story for you. And if you are going to do it, train it up properly to do so, or invest in the tools that will do it for you. But, you know, just kind of handing it over to the attaboy version of the base level LLMs is not in your best interest when you're trying to get the sales to move through to your people.
Well, except that Jacob got me, Rob, just so you know, I helped him to set up a voice AI, and he put a female in front, and she looks way better than me to make you laugh and do the story. It's just, it's very humbling, I have to say.
Yeah, but a well-trained tool can do the job.
Well, now you just called me a well-trained tool. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
But I agree. What I've seen with the AI in terms of how we can actually, that's why I'm a firm believer of AI plus the human really makes it work. I mean, it's finally, it's technology's promise to make us more productive in terms of, there's no question about that.
Yeah.
I'll joke with you all the time, but when it comes to the serious stuff, there's definitely a way to marry them together.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Cool. Well, thank you guys so much for your time and for being here. And as usual, the conversation. And yeah, we'll be back next week with more.
Sounds good.
Awesome.
Good to meet you, Rob. Talk to you later.
Thank you.